Hello, my darlings. So this video is the very first conscious meditation that I'm doing for Key Wisdom Tarot. And the question that we're going to be answering today, or not answering, but the question we're going to be talking about today is, what if I'm not good enough? Conscious meditation really is to actively reflect on something, to actively reflect on what you're feeling, what you're thinking. And this is a thought that came to my mind the other night, and I wrote this down on this piece of paper, and I left it here until I was going to record this today. So what if I'm not good enough? This is really literally an active meditation where I actively reflect on this question, and actually by the end of it I do understand where this thought comes from and how this thought and this idea does affect my behaviour, my motivations and my actions. So I hope, my darlings, that you enjoy it, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Hi everybody, welcome back to Key Wisdom Tarot. My name is Ruth and I'm your Reiki Master and Tarot Reader, and today we're going to do something very different for the channel, but something that's very, very commonplace for me, and that is we're going to do a conscious meditation. Now, this is the question that I'm going to be talking about today and that you are going to listen to. So can you see that? Yes, you can. What if I'm not good enough? What a question. And conscious meditation is really basically, in a nutshell, to actively reflect on our physical, emotional, spiritual and mental, so mind, in our mind, experiences, to actively reflect on those things. And one of the easiest ways to do that, and the way that I do and the way that I've always done, is to talk to myself out loud. Now, I put up on my Instagram, Key Wisdom Tarot, I put up a little sort of exercise that you could try yourself. And then, you know, to be honest, this is something that I've actually thought about doing for quite a while, sharing sort of how I go about using meditation, and how I actively use meditation, and how I have actively used meditation in order to grow, to develop, to heal, to understand, to learn, you know, all about sort of my own experiences, but also about other people's experiences and life, and to reflect on things that have happened, etc. And I just thought, you know what, it's about time that I actually shared this. I've wanted to before, I've recorded videos in the past and I haven't posted them, and actually it dawned on me just a few days ago when I wrote this down, that this is the reason why I do certain things and don't do certain things. Like, it's such a huge motivation for me, and it's this question. I hope you can see this. What if I'm not good enough? And this sort of came into my consciousness, this sort of thought, if you will. This question came into my consciousness because I was responding to what I was feeling, sort of the energy, you know, what's going on, the people that I'm talking to every day, and the viewers that I'm talking to every day. And I realized that I'm thinking about my motivations. Why I'm doing certain things, you know, why I'm spending so much time on certain areas and not other areas. So for example, spending so much time working and not really looking after myself, not getting enough sleep, not seeing my friends or my family, or, you know, just things that I would love to do and I always enjoy doing, and I'm just so exhausted because of all the work that I was doing. And that's kind of where this thought came from. And thinking about that thing, you know, why do I push myself as hard as I do? Why do I work as hard as I do? Why do I neglect everything else for one area of my life, one specific area of my life? And ultimately, this was the thought that came to my mind, like, what if I'm not good enough? Like, and I really started to realize that this is part of my motivation, and I questioned that, and I questioned it, like, is this a normal thought? Like, is it normal for people to think that about themselves? That's the first thing I asked myself. Like, is it normal for somebody to question whether or not they're good enough? Is it normal for me to question that? And if not, where does that come from? And is it an anxiety that I have? Because I remember, like, well, I had anxiety years ago, for some years, and I didn't know that I had anxiety. So when I came to university when I was 18, so you move away from home, and so this was 2001 when I went to university. I went in 2001. So, at that time, yes, there was internet, yes, there was an internet, but it wasn't like it is now. And yes, we had mobile phones, but it wasn't like it was then. So, and I don't know if Facebook, I didn't have Facebook until I was 22 or 20, even older than that, maybe 24. I think I had Facebook for the first time, 23, 24. I'd been out of university for a few years. So what I'm trying to get at is, like, at the time, even though it's not that long ago, there wasn't all this talk about anxiety or mental health. So I didn't know that I had anxiety. I moved away from home. I sort of developed certain habits and certain thought processes and certain patterns in my thinking, but I didn't actually know there was anything wrong with that. I just thought that was me, and I thought, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me, and, like, in the sense, like, why do I feel this way? But I didn't really know that it wasn't normal, that I was thinking in that way. I just thought it was normal. Anyway, fast forward to 2013, so good sort of 12 years later. So I've been living with this for 12 years, anxiety for 12 years, not really, lived my life, got my degree, had my life, dated, had boyfriends, was successful in my career, had great friends, had a great time, it wasn't like my life was sort of on hold. I lived my life and I had a great time. I had a great time. But after my nana passed in 2013, that is when I found out that I had anxiety. And I was like, oh, right, I've got anxiety. And I started having CBT, and it was, I don't know, 2 or 3 sessions I'd been having. So I'd used to have them like every week or every 2 weeks. I can't remember exactly. It was every week or every 2 weeks. And I would go to the doctor's surgery for these appointments, and I'd catch the bus it was like outside my house, and I'd catch the bus to the doctor's. And one day I'd been to about 2 or 3 appointments, and I'd been meditating since the beginning. So before I even went to the doctor's, I started meditating, or the day that I went to the doctor's first, I started meditating. So I've been meditating for about 8 weeks, like every single day. And so I'm driving on the bus. We're on the bus this day, and we're driving past this row of houses, and they had really small gardens at the front. And one of the houses had a small wooden bench in the front of the garden. And I saw myself sat on this bench, and I'd lived in this house, and I'd sat on this bench, and I was sitting on this bench and just minding my own business, and someone would walk past the house while I'm sat on this bench and started shouting at me, or was I don't know, crazy person, I don't know, whatever. But I had that thought in the space of about 0.1 seconds. So all this information sort of came into my mind within the space of just driving past this house. And when I got to the doctor's, I said to the doctor, to the therapist, CBT, she was called Ramsha. And I said to her, I said, oh my gosh, I said, I realized what I've been doing. Like, I realized that is what anxiety is. Like, my brain is just sort of moving so quickly that I don't even realize. And I've never caught it before. I've never been able to see that that's how my brain works. And I said, I get it. I said, I understand that that's what I'm experiencing when I have anxiety. And it was amazing to me, because meditation in itself, what it had done, I felt at that point, that day, at that time, and still do, it had actually slowed down my thought processes just enough that I could actually start to hear them. And it was at that point that I just knew how important and significant meditation is. I was like, this is helping. And I realized when I wrote this that this is a thought that I've held and had just in my psyche. You know, what if I'm not good enough? I've had that thought for so long that I don't hear it anymore. And I heard it the other day for the first time. And I heard it in a way that I understood that is something that actually does affect what I do and what I choose not to do. That thought and that feeling of what if I'm not good enough? Like, what if I fail? What if I'm a failure? So where does it come from? You see, this is how we work. This is how I work with conscious meditation. It's an active thing. I mean, there's lots of different types of meditation. Some are active, like this, and some are passive. You know, mindfulness is a strange combination of both of those things, active and passive. And there's different forms of mindfulness, but mindfulness in itself is really active and passive. And then there's other forms like visualization or emptying your mind. I don't know what they call them. You know, there's all these different names for them, but, you know, transcendental, for example, that would be a passive meditation, for example. But anyway, in conscious meditation, we start with a sort of question or a statement, or how am I feeling today, as the example that I gave on Instagram. And for me, the question that I want to start with today is, what if I'm not good enough? And I start there. And I need to understand where this comes from. And I think that it's funny because no one's ever told me that I'm not good enough. Quite the opposite. Like, no one has ever said to me, well, that's not true. See, when I was growing up, this would never be said. Like, no one would ever say to me, I'm not good enough. Like, it was the opposite. So we are told, like, my mum told us all that we're beautiful and that we're intelligent and that we're smart. And my brothers told us that we're intelligent and that we're smart and that we can achieve anything. And and it's just about working hard, and we can work hard, and it's important to work hard, and did you try your best, and well done. And, you know, getting an A grade was just like a normal thing. Like, it wasn't something, I mean, obviously everyone's happy for you, of course. So I achieved at school, achieved outside of school. No one ever told me that I wasn't good enough. So I know that it doesn't come from there. And I know, actually, well, there's two things, because one, I think I was afraid, but I know that I had anxiety, and I understand now where that came from. You know, at that point, when I was young, but I still, because I had the people around me, my friends, the family that I have, my friends that I have had and still have, the schools that we went to, our neighbours, everything, our mum's friends, our cousins, everything. Because of that influence, I always did everything and achieved well and was confident and loved life and outgoing, and so no problem there. But if I'm honest, now I understand that I had anxiety even then, but I didn't know it was anxiety, so it didn't affect me. Like I've got a twin sister, and I always think, well, we did the same things. We did the same, you know, we got pretty much the same grade. You know, I did better in certain subjects and she did better in other subjects, but you know, we got the same grade. You know, we both got A stars, we both got A's, you know, we did well. And college, same. Both got into universities that wanted to. Yeah. Both had, you know, same friends, social life. I mean, I was probably more social. So I think that never held me back. But if I'm truthful, when I said, what if I'm not good enough? And I said, I never had that thought when I was younger, and I didn't actually. I know actually where this comes from, actually. And it actually annoys me to even, not annoys me, but okay, it's a nerve. It touches a nerve for sure, because the only person that's ever made me, and the first person actually in my life that's ever made me ask this question of myself, what if I'm not good enough? Am I not good enough? Is someone that I'm still very much friends with and have a lot of time for and feelings for, but it's my ex-boyfriend. And it's funny because I wrote this down the other day, and I said to myself, when I wrote this down, I wrote it about 3 days ago, and I said, I'm just not going to look at it, this question. Like I left it, you know, on here, I've got all these post-its, and I left it, and I said, I'm not going to look at it until I turn my camera on to film this, okay? And so I didn't think about it on purpose. I thought I want it to just be the video when it's there. Sorry, that's annoying. I just want it to be the video. And so yeah, actually, yeah, I'm a little bit kind of surprised that that's my thought, but it's actually the truth, because it's really making me remember a lot of things. I remember when we first met, and we'd not been together for I don't know, a couple of months at this point. I can't remember how long, I don't know. And I told him about something that had happened to me, and he said to me, he said sometimes people see your light and they want to take it away. That's what he said to me. And I thought, wow, that's so profound. I mean, he's an Aquarius, so, you know, they're not known for, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, it's a very beautiful sentiment. But actually, I think inadvertently what he did, not what he did, because it's not like this isn't like a thing about him attacking, because it's not like that at all, but it's just what this relationship has actually taught me and shown me. But actually, that is exactly what he did to me. It's as if he said that to me. And I it's not like that was a thought that I had in my head. He said that to me. And it's as if that's what he did to me. It's as if now, don't get me wrong, he loved me. He wasn't like abusive. He wasn't like nothing like that. You know, he wasn't like a horrible boyfriend. Not, you know, he had his moments, but do you know what I mean? We all do, don't we? I'm sure he'd say about me. But I think as time went on, what bothered him was my sensitivity, because I'm very, you know, I was at that point, we were together for 6 years. I was a teacher, and and that, I suppose, was my first sort of, you know, real sort of career, if you will, you know. Out of university, I did a couple of jobs even there, whatever. But anyway, you know, I worked in different places just to get university out of my system, to be fair. And it was great fun. Had a great time. We had some great times. Anyway. Do you know what it is? It's like, do you know what it is, right? This is what I'm doing is I'm like, I always do this, even when I'm talking to myself, which is every single day. And I'm talking to myself, and if I talk to myself about my past relationship, about where's whatever, I always feel like, even though there's no one else listening apart from me, it's just me in my house and my dog, I feel guilty saying, like, I feel guilty, like, calling him out, saying, because it's not, I'm doing it now. I'm about to say it's not his fault. And it isn't his fault. It's not like, but you see what I'm saying? Like, I can't allow myself to sort of put him down and to sort of say he's this awful person, because do you know why? Because I am sensitive, and because I knew, even when I was an English teacher and I was working in a school and I wasn't doing Reiki and tarot and all that stuff, like, I knew that he was, like, really damaged by some of the things that, it's nothing, you know, it's just parents and stuff, innit? It's nothing fucking, you know, but he was really damaged by that. But that's what we all did. All of us did that. His friends, they would all say, oh, you know, but his mum. And I'm thinking, and that's what I'm like, I still, in a way, like, defend that type of behaviour. And I think, but not defend it, but I can understand, you know, you can't, I think a person's not a bad person. I think people go through stuff, people go through shit, people go through their life, and bad things happen to us, and we react to that, and we don't know how to react, and we don't know how to respond, and we just do it. And then the benefit of hindsight is that we can and should and do look back and reflect and think, fuck, I would never do that now. And I saw him not long ago, actually, and he pretty much, you know, he said, you know, God, I've learned so much about, you know, blah, 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 whatever. And, you know, and it's, you know, and I think that's great. And so, but I think for me, it's like, why can't I just say he was a piece of shit to me? And even though he's been damaged in the past, because I think anyone could say that. Anyone could say, oh, I've been hurt in the past. Doesn't give you a right to go around fucking shitting on people and hurting people and lying to people and putting people down and manipulating people, which is all the things that he did. And yet, until this second, I mean, I'm gonna have to tell you I've done this video, because, you know, this is what I'm still now defending him, still now trying. And this is, I tell you, oh my God, this is that. What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not good enough? That implies, that thought, which has been silent in my mind but active, I've not heard it, but it's been there. What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not good enough? It's been there. It implies that maybe I didn't do enough, or maybe I could have done more. It implies that. By me thinking that, by me having that thought in my head that what if I'm not good enough, it implies it. And actually, it's bullshit. Because it isn't even that. It isn't even that. Just checking there's enough battery. I just think that, like, it's not about what he or anybody does to you or to me or whatever in life. It's about how I choose to respond to that, and about how that affects the things that I do, and how that affects how I treat people and the choices that I make. And actually, I think that by sort of not seeing, by anyway trying to show that compassion to him, what inadvertently what I've done for myself, which he deserves compassion, and everybody deserves compassion, everybody else outside of me deserves compassion, but I also deserve it. But I think that inadvertently, by putting all my compassion and for, yeah, but you know, they've been through so much, so you can understand, by putting all that compassion to him or to them, inadvertently what I'm doing is saying I am not deserving of it, because partly it's probably because of something that I did. And actually that's not the case. I mean, we all do stuff. I do stuff. I did stuff. He did stuff. We do stuff in life, you know. But I think that actually it's not about what was done. It's about how it affects me and how it affects him. And as he said, you know, Ruth, I've learned so much. I'd never do X, Y, Z, and I've learned how blah, blah, blah can affect this, that, and the other. You know, it's what he said, so it's his private stuff, so I'm not going to talk about it. But I think that actually how it's affected me is that I've inadvertently, unknowingly, kinda lacked the same compassion for myself in that situation that I have for him. And so therefore I in a way feel kind of responsible when anyone who knows the story I mean, listen, he's a good guy. I'm doing it again. He's not a bad guy. I'm just saying though, I'm saying that, like, I need to give myself that compassion back. Yes, Tiny. I mean, he knows. It's because I'm talking about his daddy. Come here, oh baby. I'm talking about. See, I think it's because I'm talking about his daddy. And actually, I realise as well that my mum does that. My mummy does that, don't you, Tiny? You know, she'll never say a bad word about. She won't say a bad word, will she? Not about Tiny. Not about daddy. My daddy, not your daddy. My daddy. My daddy. She'll not say a bad word. But really, can you see him? These aren't telling you. But really, I think maybe that's something that I have learned behaviour, learned from my mama. That he's always wanted to get on this table. Can you still, yeah, you're still on. Learn from my mama that you sort of, she's a Leo, you see. But I do think that actually just saying it out loud makes you realise that maybe that is something that I've learned, that like by saying, yeah, but it was hard for him, and yeah, like that's what my mum does. That's what my mum would do. She would never ever say, she'd always think that she did something, or she'd imply that she did, or she wouldn't give herself the same level of compassion. And I think that I've not been giving myself the same level of compassion that I've been giving to him and to my other whatever. And it's like, do you know what it is? It's like I think actually, do you know this? Do you know where this came from? Actually, this "what if I'm not good enough" thing. Do you know that's what it were? That I've just remembered now, because other night I was on. I hope this is still recording. It is. Other night I was on. I don't even want to be on it, right? But I thought I'm gonna go on it. This Bumble, it's called. I know you've heard of it, and you know, you get. And I was saying to my mates for a week, I was like, listen, yeah, I get matches, but who gives a shit? Who cares? Like, I'm not really bothered. I'm not really interested. And I think that, like, the stuff that needs to, like, work its way to the to the surface of my consciousness, so that I can. You want to go to sleep, don't you? To the surface of my consciousness, so that I can. You lie down on there, so that I can. Good boy. So it wants to make its way to the surface of my consciousness, so that I can actually. Look at this dog. So that I can actually, work through it and understand it and get to grips with what it is I'm trying to know and understand and learn. And yeah, you can go to sleep. And yeah, I think that's probably why I'm sort of not really into the whole dating thing right now. But anyway, so yeah, I got a match anyway. And it was kind of like within this sort of match when it happened, my brain did that thing like it did on the bus, like it went really quickly, and I heard it, and I realised and recognised there's an anxiety here. What is the anxiety? I realised that my brain was going in at that same speed, and the same sort of processes were happening, similar to the bus story that I told you. And I realised that there's an anxiety here. So once I realised there was an anxiety, I was like, well, what is the anxiety? Like, what is it that's bothering me or that's worrying me? And that's what came to my mind. What if I'm not good enough? And I think that it's really, for me, about understanding again where that comes from. And I think now that I actually do understand where that comes from, I think I realised that, you know, that relationship, it was a soulmate relationship. I'm still, I'm doing it again. You know, it's a soulmate relationship with Wes, and it did exactly what it was meant to do. It taught me and showed me who I am, who I was. God, there were so many things that happened, you know, over 6 years of life, and I went through so much, and I had a brain injury, and he was there to support me through that, and, you know, I couldn't walk for a few months, you know, he was there to support me through that. So he did so much, and it was hard, you know, it was hard, you know, things happen in life, and you don't ever know what's going to happen, and things happened to me and to him, and we would just happen to be together, and we didn't really know how to really, I suppose that was I don't know. But I think that what I realised is, you chill, Tiny. I think what I realised is that how I responded to him was because I'm very sensitive. So for me, if someone's hurting, I don't want to be somebody that contributes to that, or I'll try not to contribute to their suffering, because that I would not feel good about that. But I think that for him, he was hurting, but he's an Aquarius, so no offense. Listen, no offense, Aquarius. I was with him for 6 years, yeah, so I ain't got nothing against Aquarius at all. Aquarius know everything. I've got this. I know this now after Aquarius season this year. But anyway, 2019 that is. But I think that just we're very different in the way that we handle things. And so because I am very, very sensitive, not only to my own suffering, but to other people's suffering, that sounds really like sort of grand, but it's the truth. You know, that's how I experience the world, is that I'm sensitive to people, to what they're experiencing. And that is obviously why I do the job and the work that I do. And obviously meditation, Reiki, mindfulness, tarot, all those things only heighten and strengthen that sort of sensitivity and that sort of empathy for the people. So, but again, it's about recognizing how that affected me, how this thought has affected me. And for me, the thought has affected me in the way that I, inadvertently, by having that compassion for him and for the situation, what I lacked was a similar level of compassion for myself. And I need to realize that, I don't know. What, you know, I hear it now. I hear the do I think I'm good enough. You know what? Don't I, Tiny? I do. And you're a little cutie, you. I do hear it, and at least, and I think that's a positive. You know, I really do think it's a positive that I hear it. I'm trying to take a thumbnail here so you can see this. I do. Oh, you're so cute. I do hear it, and at least I hear it now. At least I know, or I know that that's something that I've been carrying around with me, this thought, what if I'm not good enough? And at least now I understand where it came from. And it does not about blame. It's just about, well, that's the source of it. The source of it was, what if I'm not good enough? And that's because of, you know, things that he used to say. And I think that because he was, I'm not making an excuse for him. I don't know why he would say those things, because as I said, I would never say those things to somebody. I would never put anybody down. But then again, I've not had his life and his experiences. So I don't know, you know, it's not in my, I was going to say it's not in my nature, but I should say it's not in my experience to sort of, it's just not my experience to sort of bash people or to sort of manipulate people or to lie to people or to put people down. It's just not in my experience. I'm not saying that he was someone who bashed me or whatever, but he definitely is someone who's very harsh in his delivery, and someone who's very sort of, it doesn't even matter. My point is, it doesn't matter. I mean, he's oh God, I don't know. It's not about him. I'm doing it where I'm trying to defend him, because he doesn't need defending. He's a great person, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying that, like, I should be thinking really right now, sorry, Tanya, that was me. I should be thinking really right now about me and how it's affected me, because it doesn't matter what he's done necessarily. It matters how it's affected me. And that's kind of how it's like, what it's like for you in your life. Like, you know, we go through things, but it's about how it affects you. And that's the kind of place where you need to get to. You need to get to a place where you have a statement, you start with a statement. So if this is something that you sort of struggle with, this sort of hidden anxiety, where you don't really recognize that you have these thoughts, and then you start to hear them, you know, or you start to acknowledge them, or right now, just because of the astrology, you know, and just certain times of year, or near full moons, or near eclipses, blah, 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 or definitely in retrograde seasons, we get that sort of time where we sort of start to, our awareness starts to shift, and we start to sort of see things, or realize things, or hear things that we haven't for a while. And in those moments, we start with that thought, the thought that we've not heard, the thought that sort of explains something to us and helps us to understand. There's something in that. And for me, there was something in this thought of, what if I'm not good enough? There was something there, and I had to understand where it comes from. And this is how I talk to myself. So even if the camera wasn't rolling right now, I would have had this conversation, and I would have understood during the course of that conversation, like it was during the course. I didn't know what I was going to say, to be honest. But I would have understood that, where it came from and the effect it's had on me. And I think that actually it's something that I needed to just get. I just needed to understand it. I just needed to see it, because I didn't see it before. I didn't know it before. I didn't recognize it before. Baby, you go sleep. You're okay. I didn't recognize it before. And now, we see, don't we, tiny doggy? You've got, look, he's got his tongue, you see, he's got his tongue out. Can you see? I love it when he does that. He's so cute. So yeah, basically, that's it. That's a conscious meditation. So when you do a conscious meditation, you know, what you really need to do is start with a statement, a question. So if you're very new to it, you might just start by saying, why the heck am I feeling like this? Or what am I feeling like today? Or why am I angry about that? Or why am I sad about that? Or why does that make me feel uncomfortable? And just sort of explore that question, like, where might that come from? And is that something that I say often? And is it normal? Is that a normal thought for me? Is that something that's normal for everybody? And sort of try to reflect on it in that way, because really, that is really how you grow. So now I understand that so now I understand that this is or was something that I was holding on to, this idea of, what if I'm not good enough? And that's knowing that that's something that I thought about myself. It means that I don't think that anymore, because it's like, it's kind of like I only was carrying it around with me because I didn't know that I had it. But now I know that I have it, then I can get rid of it, because I know that it's here. I know it exists in my energy and in my perspective and in the actions that I do. And does it motivate me? Well, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, because it definitely does. I think that I definitely think about, it is definitely something that motivates my actions. And I think that, why does it motivate my actions? And I think in the way that it stops me from doing things, as opposed to be fair, actually, in both ways, it both stops me from doing something, and it makes me want to do certain things. And I think just knowing that the next time there's a decision that does need to be made, it might be something that I can consider. So if I'm trying to, I mean, I don't know the future, but I'm sure I'm going to have to make a decision at some point in my life. So so that will definitely, it's kind of like, even with this video, like, will I post this video? What would motivate me to, or not? And I think that, does it motivate me to this thought that I'm not good enough? You know, because, like,
I don't have that thought of like, what if people think it's rubbish? It's not like that. It's just that it's just my standards for myself are high. Like, I want to make sure that everything I do is amazing and spot on. But the reason I want to make sure everything I do is amazing and spot on is because I'm not sure I'm not good at it, if that makes sense. So now that I know that, I'm like, okay, I need to slacken off with the whole everything's got to be amazing, because actually the standard is only there because of an anxiety that I had. Whereas if that anxiety doesn't exist, then I don't have to meet that standard. I can try to meet that standard for other purposes. Maybe there's another reason why I want to excel at something, and it would be, or maybe there's another reason why I want to achieve something or not, or do something or not. And that should be the thing that motivates me, and I should be truthful and honest and try to engage with what that might be potentially, as opposed to ignoring or pretending or disregarding those ideas and those thoughts. It's something that I should definitely be reflecting on, especially going forward, especially knowing that I've carried. And again, I did not hear it. It's not as though I thought or knew or believed that I was being affected by this idea, or that I even had this idea, or that I was carrying these thoughts. Can you even see them? Carrying these thoughts around. I didn't. I wasn't aware. I didn't know. Now that I am aware, it definitely should. And going forward, it has an impact, because once you see it, then you can deal with it. So again, the next time I go into a situation, or I'm confronted with a situation, and maybe we should talk about relationships next, because I've spent a lot of time talking about relationships this time, but I was sort of having a conversation earlier about marriage and about why is that something. I don't want to see. This is the thing. I don't know. No one else is listening, but then it's like karma, innit? You're like, you've heard about law of attraction. Everyone knows about law of attraction. Don't ask me to talk about law of attraction. I don't think you like what I'm going to say, but it's like, where does that want? I tell you why, because I was watching Love Island. Weren't we, Tiny, just before we come downstairs? Upstairs, Tiny likes Love Island. Previously on Love Island. See, he likes it, don't you, baby? No, what I was doing were, I was watching Love Island Best Bits, whatever, Unseen Bits, and the girls had the wedding dresses. They did this task. It's kind of like, for those in America, it's kind of like, those dating programs, like Bachelorette, but not like Bachelorette, but I can't think anyway. And they were doing this task, and they all had to have wedding dresses, and they were all getting so excited. They were running down the stairs, and they were all these wedding dresses, and they were like trying, like, oh, and I was like, gosh, like, it's 2019, and we're all getting all excited, all these wedding dresses. And then I was like, maybe I don't get excited about that stuff because I'm not married. Like, maybe if I'd been married, like, maybe I'd get excited about it. And then I was like, well, do you really, like, where does that idea come from about wanting to get married? Like, I'm not saying that I don't want to get married, but where did that idea come from? Is it organic to me? So maybe next time we'll talk about that, because that's an interesting. Well, I thought it was interesting. I mean, and what else are you going to talk to yourself about? You might as well talk to yourself about stuff that's interesting, and actually stuff that's going to teach you a little bit about where you come from and what you think and what your ideas are, because this is the point of conscious meditation. The point of conscious meditation is to get to know yourself, is to get to understand yourself and your experience. So why not talk about Tiny, got sleep. You're meant to be sleeping, You're meant to be sleeping, doggy. Goodbye. Talking about those experiences, reflecting on what you're going through. But I read something really interesting today about 3 types of, I'm just rambling now, 3 types of lives that, like I'm reading about the history and the origins of the tarot, and about the missionary, the Protestant missionary in the 19th century, where he basically was the dude that he's called Levi, and he was basically the dude that no, it wasn't. Was it? No, it wasn't Levi. It was a French guy, and his name's got 3. It's really hard to say, but it begins with G. Gilbert. I can't remember. Anyway, and it was saying that they were the first people to connect. He was the first person to connect it to the Kabbalah, and you know, the tarot and what it teaches us to the teachings of the Kabbalah and the Hebrew alphabet, because there's 22 major arcana and there's 22 blah 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 blah. Anyway, and I have no idea what I was going to say, but what I was going to say is I don't know what I was going to say. I don't know what I was going to say. I started and I didn't finish, but basically, like, it's interesting that the journey that you go on. That's what I was going to say, because it's about the questions, and I think that, like, when I read these books, I was just doing it out for fun because it's interesting to me. Like, I want to know these things. Like, if you try to Google tarot, don't bother, because it just doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you it can't tell you where the word comes from before the 14th century. It can't tell you these things, so you might as well not bother. And it doesn't even know the etymology. I do, because my literature comes from the 60s, so they actually remember. So when I get the original text that those books are quoted from, I will pass that information on to you. Very interesting, darling. Anyway, but yeah, again, all the time when I read these books and I find these things out, what I actually sort of realize is that it's about the questions. That, like, it is about the questions. It's not about the answers. It's not about being told this is what's going to happen. It's about the questions that help to open our mind. That's what I was going to say. There are 3 types of lives. There are 3 types of ways of living, and one is active, one is passive, and one is contemplative. It didn't use the word contemplative. It used a different word that means to contemplate, and I can't remember what it was. But and I thought that was interesting. I thought, well, some people, maybe it's at certain stages in our life we are active, and certain stages we are passive, and certain stages we are contemplative. This is, again, based on the Book of Thoth and the Kabbalistic tradition, the mystic Jewish tradition. That's what Kabbalah is, basically. And maybe we are all those things at certain points in our life, at certain times in our life. Okay, thank you, Tiny, for my kiss. I know you. We're going to sit down now. We're going to get down. Just chill now. Do you want to just chill? Maybe we are those things all the time at certain times. Right, get down, you. Disrespecting the altar. Disrespecting the tarot altar. Anyway, he's getting tired now, so I'm going to go. But maybe we are those things at all times. Maybe we're those things at sometimes. Maybe some people are active, some people are passive, some people are contemplative. I am definitely contemplative, and at this time in my life, I'm definitely contemplating things because it's interesting to me. I just think, like, for me, I want to know stuff. Like, I want to find stuff out. I want to learn. Like, I just think, like, if you don't know something, like, if you don't know and you want to know, like, find out. Like, how can you just, like, for me, it's like annoying. It's like, how can you not know the word tarot, like where that comes from, what's the etymology of that word? Like, the first thing I do when I learn a new word, the first thing, if I hear a new word and if I'm reading a book and I find a word, I look in my dictionary and I just want to look at, give me the definition, the basic definition of that word. Just give me the definition first of all, and then give me a little bit of information about that word. Where does it come from? What's some synonyms for it? Like, because it's interesting to me. Like, I'm about words, so I love all that stuff. But it's like, for me, that's how my brain has always been. Like, why do we call Saturn? I'm like, why do we call Mars the planet of action? Like, why? Like, where does it come from? Like, why does, like, do you not want to know these things? Like, I want to know, so I want to find out. So I'm very curious like that. So yeah, maybe my life is like contemplative. I can't remember what the word is now, but I'll find it. But anyway, I'm digressing. But basically, this is where we start. With conscious meditation, the best thing about it is anyone can do it at any time, anywhere. And even just a 2-minute, 3-minute, 1-minute reflection, self-reflection will help to open your mind, because it will only introduce you to more questions. And the more questions that you ask, the more answers that you find, and then the more questions that are generated. And so your mind is constantly, continually expanding, and your understanding is, and your experiences. And so conscious meditation, i.e. talking to yourself like I'm doing now, is just really a great thing. Okay, right, I'm going because Tiny's tired and it's been a long one, and I've got to watch the latest episode of Love Island. So try it for yourself, my darlings. Think about a question. Start with a question, start somewhere, and move on to the next question and see where you go. This is how conscious meditation works, and it's something that can really actively help to improve your experience of the world and what you're feeling, and just try to help you to understand that and articulate that for yourself. Okay, my darlings, have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you all again. Check out your readings, the weekly readings that are out. You can just watch them now if you want. They're really great, and we look at the advice type of thing. That's what we try to do. We try to look at the energies, and we try to look at sort of how you can navigate those, and what you might experience, what you might feel. Okay, so watch those, my darlings, and I'll see you all again on Tuesday/Wednesday each week with your brand new readings. Take care, my darlings. Bye.